Hello again, everybody. I'm sorry that I've been gone for a couple weeks. I had exams that obviously occupied large quantities of my time and precluded me from making another video. However, hopefully I make up for that hiatus in this video. Without looking at the title of the video, you already could have probably guessed the topic. Yes, this week's video will be about the abortion debate. Now, I know it's a sensitive issue and often sparks emotional, heated conversation. So, like all other videos, I try to stay as unbiased and bipartisan as I can. I will argue that common ground exists on this topic, and although philosophical views might differ, material solutions exist that I think both sides would find favorable. Nevertheless, if you disagree with something that I say here, feel free to comment and I will respond as soon as I can. I hope you enjoy. So, let's begin with some basic facts about the abortion debate, as they are important to establish a baseline off of which we can build common ground. First is dogmatism. You will not be able to change many minds. Yes, it sounds cynical, but it's ultimately true. Unlike climate change, where more and more studies are coming out in favor of it existing and where more and more people are agreeing it exists, abortion involves an unavoidable philosophical question about which people fundamentally disagree. The question of whether a fetus in the womb holds moral equivalence to a human already born will be debated for the foreseeable future, and anyone who has truly thought out their philosophical position will have a tough opinion to change. Even those who haven't thought out their position won't really be open to having their mind changed. For example, it'll be hard to convince someone that abortion does not restrict female bodily autonomy who is rigid in his or her beliefs, just like it'll be hard to convince a staunch religious pro-life individual that abortion is not murder. As a result, the important lesson from this point is that material solutions, as opposed to fundamental beliefs, must be the source of common ground. If you ever want to work together with someone on the other side of the abortion debate, put aside philosophical worldviews and instead talk about tangible solutions. Second, abortion is nearly always a last resort for potential future mothers. No one has sexual intercourse with the intention of getting an abortion later. If someone does not want to have a baby, they will take steps prior to abortion to not have the baby. This is not really a controversial point. 3. Birth control is better than abortion. It's somewhat similar to my previous point, but if we can agree that a fetus in the womb has any sort of moral value whatsoever, perhaps less than a human, but any sort of moral value whatsoever, then we can agree that birth control is more moral than abortion. It's also more practical for those of you who are utilitarians out there, as it likely costs less, places less emotional places less emotional trauma on the person who receives an abortion, etc. 4. Rape is obviously bad, and we should make sure that we take care of those who are victims of rape, male or female. This is undisputable. If someone is raped, then whether we agree or not that the victim should give birth, there should at least be social safety nets for these individuals. 5. People should be responsible about their sex life. I'm not saying what you should do with your body, but most people would agree that having unprotected sex with like 50 people per day for either sex is just not a good idea. You're under high risk of conceiving a child and also obtaining a venereal disease. I'm not telling you how to pick a sexual partner. I and many people agree with me and just arguing that you should responsibly have intercourse with people you trust. Next. There should be more help for unwanted children in unideal situations. This can involve things like foster care improvement or at least just helping parents raise their children in more apolitical ways. All those being said, let's talk about some material common ground solutions that we all can take to make the world a better place. First, better adoption system / improved foster care. So I was just talking about this actually in the previous point, but what I'm talking about here is that many parents want to obtain an abortion because they realize they don't have the necessary resources to properly raise a baby and give that baby a good life. As a result, we should improve the adoption system / foster care system because there will be some parents who inevitably give birth to a child who they simply cannot raise, and as a result, they will place that child in the foster care system. We should give more money to the foster care system so that children who are placed in this sort of system have a much better life, a much healthier life, that they're not uncared for, and also parents know that perhaps there can be less abortions because parents know that their child, who will later be born, will still be in a good situation. Now, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you can agree with this. For example, if you're a Republican and you believe in lower taxes, perhaps you can still donate money in a sort of charity sense to the adoption system. If you're a Democrat, perhaps you believe in things like higher taxes and allocating some of those taxes to the adoption system / foster care system. Next, more education about intercourse. So what I mean by this is that many people simply are uneducated on the subject. Most people know that having unprotected sex can lead to having a baby. However, most people don't know about potential dangers of unprotected sex. For example, I talked about this earlier. You can obtain a venereal disease, and there's also certain other dangers associated with it. So the reason why more sex education would help people is that people could learn that there are instances where you can find access to things like birth control, condoms. There are potential risks to unprotected sex, etc. People should be more educated on the subject. Next, more access to condoms, birth control. I alluded to this in the last point, but what I'm talking about here is that sometimes condoms/birth control can be very expensive, and obviously, you can't really stop people from having intercourse. So these things should be more accessible. Perhaps there should be charities for these things. People should, or maybe the government can try to help lower the prices. I'm not sure, but if there's more access to condoms and birth control, perhaps there can be less unwanted babies who are conceived, or unwanted conceived fetuses. Next, more help for women when they are pregnant. So I'm actually talking about two things here. First is on the research side. So first is that women obviously experience a lot of pain during their pregnancy, whether it's emotional or physical. Women have a lot of physical pain, and they also experience a lot of emotional trauma. They're going through a rough time, both emotionally and physically. So there should be a lot of research on this issue to try to help women get through their pregnancy in an easier way. Perhaps there may be better painkillers, better ways to how to sort of talk to women and help their emotional trauma during this time, etc. So there should just be more research to help women when they are pregnant, as a possible reason for abortion is women don't want to go through the pain of a pregnancy. Second is that we should just be nicer people in general. It doesn't have to be research. We should just be more understandable for pregnant women. Perhaps companies should be more lenient towards their pregnant female workers, etc. But we should just be better to women when they are pregnant. Next, there should be a better social safety net. Perhaps this means more government intervention or more apolitical social group help, i.e. charity, maybe religious groups, etc. What I'm talking about by those things is that I mean that certain groups should help people who are trying to raise a child, whether it's a single mother, a single father, a family who doesn't have a lot of income, etc. We should try to make the lives of children the best as possible. So even if you believe in things like higher taxes, then you can agree that we should do more things to help single parents. If you're not a fan of higher taxes, perhaps you can donate to charities which can go out and actually help single parents. But there should just be more resources for parents who are having a difficult time raising a child to stop things like abortion in the first place. So, as you can see, even if we philosophically disagree, we can all agree on good material solutions. Remember, even on the most contentious of issues, common ground is always possible. Always. Thanks for watching.